What is up, everybody? Coming at you live from the great state of Iowa. You know, one of the danger zones, according to New York. And I just heard one of these, pre-planned news pieces out there that's pushing the vaccines and the vaccine trials for COVID-1984. And let's talk about those vaccine trials and where they're moving and what they're showing and why we should all be extremely alarmed about this. So the first thing is, when I'm listening to this woman, okay, I think it was like Mendor, it started with an M, the one she was particularly talking about, okay, about a vaccine. And she was saying that they were ready for phase 3 trials, but then only talked about phase 1 trials and how great they were, by the way. All those phase 1 trials, they're number one. They're number one. So in the phase 1 trials, the data that she shared, and again, I didn't see any paperwork. I don't know what this is. I'm just letting you know what's being promoted. And the data that was shared there was that 45 people had taken this vaccine, and they were saying there was no serious side effects. Oh boy, no serious side effects, so they could move on. And it seemed like many of them didn't give me a number, had developed the antibodies. They developed antibodies. Now that's going to come in pretty damn important in a minute when we discuss what else was talked about. So then he goes, well, you're not the only vaccine in town. There's a lot of these trials going on. How many trials do you think are going on right now? How many of the COVID-1984 vaccines are out there? Is it 10? Is it 20? Is it 30? Is it 40? Is it 50? No. It's 17 watching, 1 thumbs up. Let's get the thumbs up, guys. We're live from the road. 150. There are 150 of these going on. Let me repeat that. 150. Okay, going on right now, 150 of them. Large populace, right? That's the next step. A large populace is going to take this, and we're going to find out in phase 3. And she said maybe by October, but that could be pushed back. I mean, again, COVID-1984, it ain't going anywhere. They're going to play this out for as long as they can, because this is about control, and especially medical martial law, because they're not promoting. I didn't hear one time that we should be treating these people with steroids or vitamin D or the things that are proven to work right now, today, mid-July 2020, because that's not what this is about. All right? I promise you that. That's not what this is about. Now, while she's the guy goes, well, it's great that they're getting the antibodies, right? They're getting the antibodies, but are those going to be lasting antibodies? And she's like, that's the real trick, isn't it? We don't know. It looks like this may be one of those things where, like the flu vaccine, you got to take it every year. Really? And they're prepping you for that too. Not a one-time shot, a lifetime shot, annually mandated by the federal Gestapo. I'm not even going to call it the government, because anybody who thinks this is a good idea or would put it on paper like the New York State Bar Association, mandatory vaccines for everybody, is out of their mind, hasn't done the research, doesn't know the studies. Period. Because now they're telling you, she also goes, some of these people, they've gotten the virus, and lo and behold, they didn't develop the antibodies. Excuse me? And yet I've got to watch The Rock every time I watch a UFC event now talk about how important it is that you fought for your life. Now it's time to fight for others, and you need to give up those antibodies. You gotta love when you're almost 5 minutes deep in a video and you got 25 people watching. Just so everybody understands what that means. That means about 1 in every 2,000 of my subscribers is watching. 1 in 2,000. Thanks, YouTube. Thank you for your algorithm. You rock. You rock, YouTube. Way to censor real information. You gotta love it. So the next thing that she said, and all this is gleeful, we're all gonna have to take an untested vaccine or a push-through vaccine that may or may not give you antibodies, and it may or may not work. Look at the flu vaccine. Let's say it's like the flu vaccine. This year's influenza vaccine effectiveness by the CDC's own numbers, their own numbers, is less than 50%. In fact, influenza A and B, if you look at B, which is the H1N1 strain, remember that swine flu that was going to kill us 11 years ago? I did a lot on it back in the day. We're back. And like I said, remember H1N1? Okay, the swine flu? That is influenza B this year. That is the flu strain. Okay? They could admit no more than 37% effectiveness. So you're going to rush through a vaccine with clinical trials that are squished together. Phase 1 and 2 were kind of squeezed together for this one. Out of 150 of these Merck companies, trying it out, right? And then you're going to mandate it annually, when your flu vaccine isn't even 50% effective by the numbers, by the CDC. And of course, they had to throw shade at Trump, fucking A. If they don't do that in a video or a news piece, it's not a news piece anymore. But they're like, well, now Trump wants the hospitals to bring their information directly to the Department of Health, foregoing the CDC. Good. I don't like Fauci. I'm done with his Faucian nonsense. If you actually listen to Fauci, when he is indeed, called on what I like to call his steaming pile of bullshit, what does he admit? Oh, only 6% of vaccines make it to market. What? 6%? 6%? What? And he didn't say that on his own, by the way. When he was asked how many made it to the market, he gave this Faucian answer, right? He said, well, more don't make it to market than not. Making you think, what is it? 60-40, 70-30, 75-25, 80-20? What is it, Fauci? No, it's 94-6. And don't think the 6% that make it to market don't fuck people up. Don't have side effects. They do. They put them on the goddamn label. Thumbs this video up, subscribe, and share. How we doing, Drufus? Good to see you, brother. Oh, so I can only take so many Faucian lies. When he gets pressed on the fact that we should be looking at treatments, he's like, oh, I couldn't agree more. He ain't looking at treatments. He ain't looking at treatments. He's looking at being a minion of the predator class, billionaire Bill Gates and company in particular. That's what Fauci's doing. Can we fire Fauci? Can we get rid of the rest? Please, I'm begging you. Can we get somebody in there like Bartlett that's talking about real treatments, early treatments, after detection? Imagine that. Steroids, butanocide. He's just a medical professional. No big deal. No big deal. And I'm sorry if I'm screaming and I'm getting irate, but I listen to a 5-minute piece like that, and the fear they're pumping forward, that's out of control. Then she starts talking about the youth and coronavirus, because, got to scare those youth. They're not listening. They're not wearing the masks. They're out there living their lives, right? She goes, we've just done a study, and 1 in 3, if you're a smoker or a vapor and you're 18 to 25, are going to have a really bad go of it if you get COVID. A really bad go. She's talking about could be on a ventilator bad go. 18 to 25. I would really love to know how many 18 to 25 or just 25 and younger have put on ventilators, period, so far. I'd like to know the death number of those people, because I bet you it's under 100. And how many were put on vents? Because I bet you that's under 100 nationwide as well. If anybody has those numbers for me, I'd love to see them. Yet, she comes out and says, meanwhile, only 1 in 6 18 to 25-year-olds, if they get it, will have a bad go of it. 1 in 6? Are you out of your mind? Is that even a real number? And it was some kind of University of California out of San Francisco study, if you want to go look into it. Okay, it's on smoking and vaping of 18 to 25-year-olds and how the coronavirus or COVID-1984 is going to treat you. I would say that the vast majority of people 25 and under are either completely asymptomatic or show little to no symptoms. And that's That's why you haven't seen thousands of videos of millennials getting sick from COVID-1984. You've seen a handful. I've seen a handful, right? And I'm not one of those guys that's saying it's completely fake and it's not real. I think we got hit with what? A biological weapon. Not allowed to say that. Not allowed to say that. You're allowed to say, well, maybe it came from the lab in Wuhan because Michael Pompeo's pushing that. You're allowed to say, oh, maybe they were working on for HIV and it escaped, and then it went into a bat, into a human, some kind of weird transmission. You're allowed to say that, right? As long as you're with the United States government. But you can't talk about the reality that there are so many biowarfare labs out, not only in the United States, China, Russia, South America, Israel. I could go on. They're everywhere. They're everywhere. You're not allowed to ask whether or not this is truly a predator class operation outside of nation states when you watch something like Event 201 and it's the same exact unelected billionaires and corporations and institutions that are pushing fear right now. Johns Hopkins University, Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation, NBC Universal, the CDC in China, the CDC in the United States, the World Bank, the IMF, those motherfuckers. I'm done. That's why we're on the road. We're beyond the fear. You know, again, take a look. Is overpopulation the problem? Is Iowa doing that bad? I had to listen to something that told me like, what, 20,000 positives in the state of Iowa. How many of those people are in the hospital? How many of those are false positives? How many of those people are actually being treated with things that work? Huh? Or how many of those people are being sent home or put on a ventilator to basically die? That's what I want to know. Those are the real questions. If we're going to push early testing, why are we pushing medicine that's been proven to work? Dr. Bartlett, shout out to you. I definitely need him on the show. We're going to do it. I don't know whether I'm going to get him while I'm on the road or not. I kind of got to figure out where I'm going to stay, how long I'm going to stay. I'm going to do a here in Iowa. If you watched my previous video, I'm on the way to Iowa to go check Kickboxing Spectacular over at the Mississippi Valley Fairgrounds in Iowa, and they're looking at possibly 3,000 people being there. Now, I know, Cuomo will tell you the facts aren't the facts, but the fact is, if you're protesting for George Floyd, 3,000 people in a protest doesn't matter. Social distancing doesn't matter. That's okay. He stands with those protesters. You want to protest lockdowns? You want to go to a sporting event? You want to go to a bar and have a drink without ordering a burger? Nah, you can't do that. Oh, done with that. So guys, thumbs the video up, subscribe and share. If you want to support me, the GoFundMe link is down below. We are fully demonetized on this platform with no answer in sight. I'd be surprised if 6 months from now they even bothered to answer, because they just love to ignore. We'll see if I'm on this platform 6 months from now. You know, if I get kicked off, guys, I'm going complete rock fin, and you'll always be able to find my stuff there. Who knows if they're going to kick me off on Twitter eventually. You never know, but I try to repost a lot of stuff over there. That's where you can check it all out. I want to thank all the Burmese Brigade that's made this possible. If you go check out my Twitter, you'll see anyone can do the roadshow, man. For about $700, you saw all my equipment, and I'm able to double, sometimes triple stream with it, depending on where I'm at and what the internet is. So, you know, I'm here to stay no matter what. I'm here to talk about the truth. I'm not here to play partisan politics. I'm not here to get on the bullshit train. And that's it. And I'm here to show everybody that COVID-1984 is the reality, not a bunch of people dying from a virus and begging for a mandatory vaccine while being locked down in their house and worshiping government. That's not what's going on. They'd have you believe that. Love you all. See you on the flip.